Welcome to Stamps Old World UK, the channel dedicated to exploring the fascinating world of vintage and rare postage stamps from the United Kingdom and beyond. In today's deep dive episode, we are focusing on a true classic of British philately, the British Empire Exhibition 1924 3/2-pence stamp, a historical treasure that has not only captivated collectors for decades but also holds respectable value in the modern stamp market. Whether you've just discovered this stamp tucked away in an old family album or you're a seasoned collector adding depth to your knowledge, this video will provide everything you need, from the rich history and unique design of the stamp to its estimated value today in dollars. So settle in and let's explore this iconic stamp in full detail. The British Empire Exhibition of 1924 was one of the largest and most ambitious exhibitions ever staged, held in Wembley, London, with the goal of strengthening trade within the British Empire and showcasing the unity and industrial might of Britain and its colonies. Over 56 countries and territories participated, and it was a monumental event in the post-World War I era. To commemorate this significant occasion, the British Post Office released two beautifully designed stamps, the 3/2-pence in brown and a larger 1 penny in red. Today, we're shining the spotlight on the brown 3/2-pence stamp, issued in April 1924, which remains one of the most collected and recognizable stamps from that period. This stamp is a visual masterpiece. At the center stands a majestic lion, a timeless symbol of British strength, bravery, and imperial pride. The lion is facing forward, projecting confidence and guardianship. To the right of the lion is the finely engraved profile of King George V, portrayed in regal dignity with a laurel wreath crown surrounding his portrait. Above the king's image is a royal crown and ornate scrollwork, while the text, British Empire Exhibition 1924, sits prominently above the lion. The denomination of the stamp, 1/1/2d or 3/2-pence, is clearly printed at the bottom and in both bottom corners, indicating its value. This was a standard rate at the time for postcards and printed matter within the UK. Now, let's talk about the production and printing of this iconic stamp. The stamp was printed by Waterlow & Sons, a company known for its precision and high-quality engravings. The brown coloring is rich and classic, offering contrast and clarity that highlights every detail of the lion and the king's profile. Perforations around the edges were designed for easy separation, and like many stamps from the early 20th century, the quality of the print and the centering of the design play a large role in the stamp's desirability and value today. The paper used is of sturdy, early 20th century stock, and collectors value both used and unused versions of this stamp depending on their condition. Fast forward to the 2025 collector's market, and you'll find that this stamp continues to enjoy strong demand among British Empire and George V collectors. For used stamps, those that were postmarked and traveled through the postal system, values generally range from $5 to $15, depending on the clarity of the postmark, the color quality, and how well the stamp has aged. If the stamp has been kept in excellent condition with vibrant color and a light or neatly placed cancellation, it could fetch more. However, the real value comes with mint condition examples, stamps that were never used and still have their original gum on the back. These can range from $30 to $75, with pristine examples pushing even higher in auctions, especially if they are well centered and certified by a recognized philatelic society or grading service. Some collectors are fortunate enough to discover presentation sheets or original souvenir items from the British Empire Exhibition that include this stamp. When found in such original formats, or in pairs and blocks, the value increases significantly. Furthermore, although rare, any stamp that includes printing errors, misperforations, or color shifts can command prices well over $100 to $200, as collectors always seek out unique varieties that distinguish their collections from others. Always remember that the condition and presentation of the stamp are absolutely crucial. Even a minor tear, heavy hinge mark, or discoloration can drastically reduce its value. For those who may be interested in selling this stamp, there are several options. Online auction sites like eBay, specialist platforms such as Delcamp or Hipstamp, and in-person valuations at stamp fairs or by professional dealers are all great starting points. When selling, it's advisable to include clear, high-resolution photos of the stamp's front and back, noting any flaws or features. If you're buying, be cautious of reproductions and overly worn examples that may not hold long-term value. Always verify the seller's credibility, especially when purchasing mint condition or high-value stamps. This stamp is not just a collectible, it's a piece of living history. It connects us to a time when the British Empire stretched across the globe, and when postage stamps were more than just functional, they were artistic, symbolic, and political statements. The 3 halfpence stamp from the British Empire Exhibition 1924 is a prime example of how philately captures the culture and spirit of its era. It reflects the pride and ambition of a vast empire, the craftsmanship of early 20th century printing, and the enduring legacy of King George V's reign. If you own this stamp, take care to preserve it. Store it in a protective sleeve or a high-quality stamp album, away from direct light and moisture. If it's unused, keep it away from humidity to preserve the original gum. You might be holding on to something worth more than just its face value. You're holding a snapshot of history that continues to inspire collectors around the world. Next up, the King George V 3 halfpence definitive stamp. This magnificent stamp, rich in symbolism and heritage, not only represents a golden era of British postal design but also continues to hold value in today's collector's market. Whether you are a serious stamp collector, a casual hobbyist, or someone who just stumbled across this beautiful relic in an old drawer or inherited album, this video will guide you through every detail of this stamp's origin, its design, historical importance, and most importantly, its estimated market value in US dollars today. So sit back, relax, and join us as we uncover the full story behind this timeless philatelic treasure. The stamp we're exploring today belongs to the definitive series issued during the reign of King George V, one of the most philatelically celebrated monarchs in British history. King George V himself was a passionate stamp collector, and his reign saw the production of some of the most refined and beautiful stamp issues in the British Empire. Among these was the 3 halfpence stamp, valued at 1/2d, which translates to 1.5 pence, a common postal rate used in the early 20th century, especially for sending printed matter, postcards, and letters within the UK and to Commonwealth countries. What makes this particular stamp so visually striking and collectible is its detailed design, royal symbolism, and its deep connection to British postal history. This 3 halfpence stamp features the left-facing profile of King George V, depicted in elegant engraved detail, framed within a laurel oval symbolizing victory, honor, and sovereignty. Above the portrait is the imperial crown, a powerful emblem of the British monarchy. On either side of the king's portrait, the words postage and revenue are inscribed, indicating the dual purpose of the stamp. It could be used not only for mailing letters but also for paying government fees and duties. The denomination 1/1/2 appears prominently in both the top left and right corners of the stamp, while the full value, 3 halfpence, is written boldly in a white banner at the bottom. The artwork on this stamp is surrounded by intricate detailing, including 2 stylized dolphins or sea serpents flanking the lower corners, a subtle tribute to Britain's naval heritage and maritime dominance. The fine line work, rich reddish-brown or chestnut coloration, and balanced layout make it a masterpiece of early 20th century stamp design. The printing was typically handled by Harrison & Sons or Waterlow & Sons, both known for their high-quality intaglio engraving techniques that give the stamp its elegant depth and texture. Despite being a definitive issue, meaning it was produced in large quantities for everyday postal use, the 3 halfpence King George V stamp still holds considerable value today, especially for collectors who value condition, clarity, and historical context. Many of these stamps were used and discarded, while others were tucked away in albums, forgotten for decades. Today, surviving examples in good condition can command a fair price on the stamp market, and some rare variations can be worth a small fortune. Let's now talk about value in today's market, based on 2025 price trends and online auctions. A used example of this stamp, which has a postmark but retains clear detail and minimal damage, typically sells for around $1 to $5. However, the exact price depends on the clarity of the postmark, the color strength, the sharpness of the design, and whether the stamp is free of tears, fins, creases, or other defects. If the stamp has a clean, light postmark that doesn't obscure King George V's profile, collectors might be willing to pay up to $10 or more for a particularly attractive specimen. On the other hand, mint-condition examples, which have never been used and still retain their original gum on the back, are significantly more valuable. These stamps typically sell for between $20 and $50, and in cases where the centering is near perfect and the gum is pristine, the value can rise to $75 or more. If the stamp is part of a block of 4, or included in a complete set of definitive issues from the George V era, the total value increases substantially. Additionally, the value goes up if the stamp is certified by a recognized philatelic authority or if it features a rare printing variety, such as color errors, plate flaws, or inverted watermarks. Some of these rare variants have sold for $100 to $300, especially when authenticated and offered through respected auction houses. Collectors also appreciate stamps that tell a story, such as those with postmarks from historically significant towns, or those that were part of wartime mail. These types of postal history items may not always be in perfect condition, but their provenance and narrative add unique value that appeals to specialized buyers. It's also worth noting that demand for early 20th century British stamps remained steady, particularly among collectors focused on the reign of King George V, who is often referred to as the Philatelist King due to his lifelong love for stamps. If you own a 3/2 King George V stamp and are curious about its worth, take a few minutes to inspect it carefully. Use stamp tongs to handle it, and examine it under a magnifying glass. Look at the centering, check the condition of the perforations, inspect for any discoloration or damage, and see whether it has gum on the back if it's unused. If you're thinking of selling, platforms like eBay, HipStamp, and Delcamp are great places to list your stamp. Just make sure to upload high-quality images and provide a clear, honest description. You may also consider getting your stamp expertised or graded, which can add significant credibility and value to your listing. In conclusion, the King George V 3/2 stamp is a cornerstone of British philately. It represents not just a monarch, but a whole era of global postal history, national pride, and artistic design. While it was once a common stamp used on everyday letters and parcels, today it stands as a cherished collectible, appreciated by historians, investors, and enthusiasts alike. Whether you are buying, selling, or simply admiring, this stamp continues to hold a special place in the world of stamp collecting, and its value in both dollars and historical significance will only continue to grow over time. Next up, the halfpenny green King George V stamp. This is not just another piece of paper, it's a silent witness to a rapidly changing world, an era of royal legacy, imperial reach, and historical evolution. Whether you're a passionate philatelist or someone who simply appreciates heritage, this episode will immerse you in the full story and current market value of this timeless classic. The halfpenny green stamp was first issued in 1911, at the dawn of the reign of King George V, a monarch whose personal interest in stamp collecting shaped the culture of philately across the Commonwealth. King George V was not just a figurehead but an active collector. His dedication to philately gave rise to what is now known as the Royal Philatelic Collection, one of the most comprehensive and valuable stamp collections in the world. This personal connection between the monarch and stamps elevated their importance far beyond mere postage and into the realm of cultural artifacts. This particular stamp, the halfpenny green, was part of the definitive issue that marked the beginning of George V's reign. It featured his left-facing profile engraved in classical style, reflecting the stability and tradition of the British monarchy. Surrounding his image is an elegant frame decorated with intricate scrolls, oak leaves, and national symbols such as the rose and thistle. At the top of the stamp, the royal crown sits proudly above his portrait, signifying authority and continuity. Printed in a rich green shade, this stamp quickly became a staple in British daily life, used primarily for postcards, printed materials, and local correspondence. But to truly appreciate the halfpenny green King George V stamp, we must understand the historical context in which it was used. The early 20th century was a time of immense transformation. Britain was a global empire, commanding influence in Asia, Africa, the Americas, and the Pacific. Yet the world was also on the cusp of war, technological innovation, and social upheaval. This stamp, issued in the pre-World War I period, was affixed to letters and cards traveling across a vast empire. It played a key role in the global postal network that connected people, families, governments, and businesses across continents. A simple letter bearing this stamp might have traveled from London to Calcutta, from Manchester to Nairobi, or from Glasgow to Kingston, Jamaica, each journey writing a silent chapter in the story of the British Empire. Now let's dive into the production and variations of this remarkable stamp. The halfpenny green was printed using typography by De La Rue, a printing firm with an illustrious reputation for producing secure, high-quality currency and postage stamps. Over the years, various print runs introduced differences in ink tone, paper thickness, perforation type, and watermark orientation. These seemingly minor details are incredibly important to collectors. Variations such as the different shades of green, ranging from bright green to dull olive, can be linked to specific years or batches. Watermarks used include the Royal Cipher watermark, which appears in various orientations, including upright, sideways, and even inverted. Each variation adds a layer of interest, and some are considerably rarer than others. Let's now talk about value. What is the market worth of the halfpenny green King George V stamp today in 2025, particularly when measured in US dollars? First, we must distinguish between condition types: used, mint hinged, and mint unhinged. A basic used example, cancelled and with no rare features, typically sells for between $1 and $5. These are common but still appreciated, especially by those building educational or historical collections. If your stamp is in very fine used condition, with clean perforations, a strong color tone, and a clear circular date stamp from an interesting post office, it could fetch anywhere from $5 to $15. Mint stamps are more valuable. A lightly hinged mint condition example, meaning it was once mounted but has retained good gum and no major flaws, is usually worth between $15 and $25. Unmounted mint, or never hinged, examples are harder to find and can sell for $30 to $50 depending on appearance and authentication. But the real excitement begins with rare varieties. Stamps with inverted watermarks, color shifts, or distinctive plate flaws can command significant premiums. These errors, depending on rarity and certification, have been known to sell for between $100 and $300, and in some cases even higher. Auction houses such as Stanley Gibbons, Spink, and Grosvenor have reported successful sales of specialized collections where the halfpenny green varieties formed valuable lots. In one auction, a block of 4 mint stamps with an inverted watermark sold for over $500. These high-end pieces are typically bought by specialist collectors or institutions aiming to complete plate studies or historical displays. It's worth noting that as time goes on, and as more pristine examples are absorbed into private collections, the availability of top-condition stamps on the open market is gradually declining, and that scarcity naturally pushes prices up. It's also important to talk about provenance and postal history. A stamp used on a cover, that is, still attached to an envelope or postcard, can be worth more than a loose stamp, particularly if the cover tells a story. A postcard from the trenches of World War I, franked with the halfpenny green and postmarked from a field office, could be of immense historical and collector value. Similarly, mail sent from a colonial post office in a location such as British Guiana or Rhodesia, with the halfpenny green attached, can fetch high prices among thematic and postal history collectors. These items are often viewed not just as stamps, but as documents of human connection across vast distances during monumental historical events. Let's now consider the global trends influencing stamp values. In recent years, stamp collecting has seen a resurgence, thanks in part to digital platforms, social media groups, and online auction houses that have made philately more accessible than ever. Collectors from India, the United States, Canada, Australia, and even China are increasingly interested in British stamps from the imperial era. Many are rediscovering their colonial heritage or simply seeking rare pieces with historical depth. This renewed demand is particularly noticeable for stamps issued between 1880 and 1936, making the halfpenny green King George V perfectly positioned for appreciation in value. Another trend is the growing use of professional certification. As counterfeit stamps and altered examples become more sophisticated, buyers are increasingly turning to trusted experts and grading bodies. A stamp accompanied by a certificate of authenticity from a body like the British Philatelic Association, BPA, or the Royal Philatelic Society London, RPSL, can command far more than an uncertified copy. Certification not only verifies that the stamp is genuine, but it also documents details such as watermark, color, gum condition, and flaws, all of which add to its provenance and desirability. So, what should you do if you own a halfpenny green King George V stamp? First, examine it carefully. Use a magnifying glass or loupe to inspect the perforations, printing detail, and any possible watermark. If it's mounted, check whether it's hinged or unhinged. If it's postmarked, study the cancellation. It could reveal a rare location or date. If you believe your stamp is especially rare or in top condition, it might be worth submitting it for expert appraisal or professional grading. Even if it turns out to be a common example, it still carries immense educational and historical value, especially for new collectors and young enthusiasts. In conclusion, the halfpenny green King George V stamp is a cornerstone of British philately. Its story spans monarchs, empires, wars, and communication revolutions. Its monetary value may vary, from just a few dollars for the most common examples to several $100s for rare varieties, but its true worth lies in its connection to history. Whether you keep it in a protective mount, display it in an album, or sell it to the highest bidder, you are handling a piece of the past, a symbol of a time when the written word traveled the globe on the wings of empire. Thank you for joining us here on Stamps Old World UK. If you enjoyed this detailed journey into the story and market value of the halfpenny green King George V stamp, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss another episode. From Victorian rarities to colonial masterpieces, we'll continue to explore the world's most fascinating stamps and bring you the knowledge you need to collect wisely. Until next time, keep exploring, keep collecting, and keep history alive, one stamp at a time.